Right.
Right.
So in this video, I'm going to be ranking the 10 commandments similar to how I ranked, well, not similar, the same as how I ranked the 7 deadly sins. So the first commandment will be the weakest one. The second one will be able to beat the first one in a 1v1 match, obviously. And the third one will be able to beat the second one and the first one in a 1v1 match. And obviously this isn't going to be just a power based thing, although power can play a factor. But if a commandment such as like Gother has like strong hacks, then he'll obviously rank above that person or that commandment. And also, I'm doing this off the top of the domer, so excuse me if I pause or stutter.
Have you ever had a dream that you had?
Anyway, without further ado, let's get on to the 10th commandment. So number 10, which is Fraudrin. And the reason why Fraudrin is at number 10 should be obvious. Doesn't have good feats. He struggles with Holy Knights. Dreyfus almost one-shotted him. Him in Dreyfus's body was relative, well, not relative, he was slightly above Hendrickson, base Hendrickson, and that's pretty much all the feats he has. He was able to damage a nerf heavily suppressed Meliodas when Meliodas was getting jumped by the commandments, but that's pretty much it. Fraudrin doesn't really have any good feats to get him up there, and also he doesn't have a commandment, as Meliodas stated that he is just a substitute for Gother. He doesn't actually have a commandment, so he wouldn't even have the power boost unlike all of the other commandments would. So he's obviously at number 10. Coming in at number 9 is Gloxinia, the second Fairy King. And the reason why Gloxinia is obviously above Fraudrin is because he has better feats. He was able to one-shot a commandment host. Well, actually, it was King in Gloxinia's body, one-shotting one of the old commandments. But obviously, if King in Gloxinia's body can one-shot him, then the original would be able to do the same thing. And we also know that he has a commandment which would make him even stronger, so he would just like dog walk Fraudrin. And also his abilities is kind of broken, but I'll bring that up when I talk about the next opponent. But the other good feat that he has is that he was able to like slap away base Meliodas in his armor. Well, Gloxinia was in like his Saint Seiya type armor. Which is a good feat for him, but he doesn't actually scale to Demon Mark Meliodas. Maybe his magical attacks can, but we don't actually see him damage Demon Mark Meliodas. He just gets one-shotted every time. So yeah. The 8th place is Droll. And we see Diane in Droll's body take 0 damage from one of the 10 commandments 3,000 years ago. The same one that got pretty much no diffed by Gloxinia. And we also see that Droll, Diane in Droll's body, being able to also do heavy damage to that commandment member, same as King in Gloxinia's body. And that was just base Droll. That's not even like Droll's stance. And we know that base Droll gets even stronger with the commandment boost. And he also has his Droll's dance, which the longer he dances, the stronger he becomes. We know that Gloxinia, he's more so of a ranged fighter, but so does Droll. And we see Droll do better in the jumping that Droll and Gloxinia did on Demon Mark Power Restored Meliodas, where we actually see Droll do like pretty much carry Gloxinia. Gloxinia was more so of a support character, and whenever he got hit, he got like one-shotted by Meliodas. But as for Droll, he had to get hit like a few times before he needed the droplet of life, which Gloxinia does have access to. Even if he's knocked out, the droplet of life can just instant regen. He also has poison manipulation and stuff like that. Also nature manipulation. But the reason why I just don't think that would be enough, even with his disaster, is that I don't think that he's strong enough to even damage or scratch Droll. Especially if Droll is just dodging his attacks and dancing like he did with Diane while he's dodging. And he'll just also be getting stronger, faster. He also has his earth manipulation. He could like pretty much use like Shubaku Tensei, similar to how Diane did in like season 1, where she creates this floating mountain. But Droll's would be much bigger and stronger, and I don't see Gloxinia or Fraudrin being able to deal with that. His nature manipulation is cool, disaster is broken, but you can overpower Gloxinia with just raw strength and speed, and all of his abilities just become useless. So I think Droll is superior, or would more likely beat Gloxinia and Fraudrin in a 1v1 fight. And also, just to add before move on to the next, Droll does have heavy metal, which was able to pretty much face tank Power Restored Demon Mark Meliodas' Hellblaze, whereas Gloxinia would have just been one tapped. So that's why I think Droll just beats both Gloxinia and Fraudrin in a 1v1 match. Anyways, let's move on to the next. Number 7 is Grayroad. I don't know, you may be wondering, wait, why is Grayroad so high? Doesn't she have like 0 feats? In which she kinda does, but she has enough feats to be able to more likely beat Droll, Gloxinia, and Fraudrin in a 1v1 match. And here's why. So we see Grayroad actually blitz Meliodas in the 10 Commandment versus Meliodas fight with Binding Grudge Chains, right? Zeldris says to Grayroad, do it. Meliodas reacts, but, well, he was able to perceive it, but he wasn't able to move out of the way or counter it. So she was able to use Binding Grudge Chains on him, which is a blitz. No matter how you look at it, it's a blitz. He didn't have to try reattach his arm. He could have just dipped it, moved out of the way, and then tried reattached it. So he just blatantly got blitzed, which means that her casting speed is pretty much faster than Power Restored Demon Mark Meliodas, which is kind of insane, which is the best feat. Well, so far it's the best feat in terms of speed. And we also know that Grayroad is a Grey Demon, just a mutated version. She's actually just pretty much multiple Grey Demons mashed into one. We've seen her split up into 10 pieces, and she would be able to use Dark Snow, which is death manipulation. And I know you would say that wouldn't she die if she were to kill someone? That is true if she was in a single being, as a single being, but if she splits up into 10 pieces, she will be able to sacrifice 1/10 of herself in order to kill Fraudrin, Gloxinia, Droll in a 1v1 match. Or she could sacrifice 9 of herself and just keep the 1 so that the commandment effect would the commandment effect wouldn't activate on 1 of herself. So she will be able to beat them that way. She also has breakable bugs, which obviously if you break the bugs, they're very fragile. Then her commandment would activate, but obviously it wouldn't work on Droll and Gloxinia because they have commandments. But unlike Fraudrin, it would work on him because he doesn't actually have a commandment, meaning he would also lose. She also has 5 loss, which would just shut off all 5 of your senses and pretty much your 6th sense as well, because when Hauser got hit by it, he couldn't tell if anybody was around him, which he would be able to if his 6th sense, which would be him sensing everybody else's magic, was working. So it just takes out all 6 of your senses. So she does have that, and that's pretty much it that she has. That would be enough to deal with Droll, Gloxinia. All that matters for her is just speed. Her casting speed will be faster than the others on this list thus far. So I do see her win in a 1v1 match. Now then, let's move on to the next one. Number 6 is Estarossa, and I can already feel the hate in the comments. I can already see the hate in the comment section. But hear me out, right? Estarossa, is narratively supposed to be as strong as level 1 Demon Mark Zeldris. But the thing is that he got done dirty by the author. He was doing terribly against the archangels that weren't at full power. They were in weaker bodies, and he was still getting dog walked. And when they actually used their graces, he just got one-shotted. Right? He needed to absorb another commandment in order to survive, but he still got dealt with and needed to absorb a 3rd commandment in order to finally in order to be powerful enough to actually do shit to the archangels, to the 2 weakest archangels. So he shouldn't be ranked that high, although I understand why people feel like he should be higher due to narrative reasons. But he was able to keep up with Zeldris it was base Demon Mark Zeldris when Assault Mode Meliodas and Elizabeth weren't to Camelot, and Zeldris, already took over Camelot, and Assault Mode Meliodas was pretty much putting his dick on the table and showing them who's boss. But it's pretty much the scene where Estarossa and Zeldris were trying to beat up Meliodas, and they pretty much arrived relatively at the same time. So he has the speed advantage amongst the previous commandments that I've mentioned up to this point. He would also logically have the physical advantage as well. He was able to fight Escanor few minutes before near noon, because once near noon came, he pretty much got one-shotted by Escanor. But before that, he was actually doing pretty well, was keeping up with him, damaging each other. They were actually relative, and that's an Escanor that was getting stronger and stronger. So he should have the physical advantage and the speed advantage to deal with Gloxinia, Droll, Fraudrin, and Grayroad in a 1v1 match. His magical abilities are just the basic demon abilities, and he has physical full counter, but most of the commandments that I've mentioned beforehand aren't physical fighters. Well, they can be, but they don't really, that's not their main set of abilities. They're more so magic and physical base. So his full counter can be useful, but it's unlikely. But he more likely would beat them in a 1v1 match. Anyway, let's get on to the next commandment. At number 5, we have Galand the Great. And the reason why Galand is above Estarossa, which should be obvious, but I'll explain it to you. First of all, he's Galand. And second of all, he was able to cleave in half True Body Tarmiel, who was actively using his grace. And that's the best feat so far that we have out of the commandments that I've discussed, and that alone would just put him at the top tiers. But there's actually more, because Galand has critical over, and he went from almost getting one-shotted by Tarmiel with a arc attack to picking up that same arc attack that almost one-shotted him and slammed it into Sario. So the amp is insane. Not only that, but he could also amp his double-edged spear, and he can amp it with magic and get 2 times stronger as a bare minimum. And then he could also slap it with darkness, which is a form of destroyer type magic. We also know that darkness isn't actually magic, but it's a type of magic. That's why they can use darkness without magic. Anyways, he would then get 20 times stronger on top of his transformation, in which Estarossa is he's just getting one-shotted, blitzed, one-shotted, and any of the other commandments that I mentioned beforehand are also just getting blitzed and one-shotted. There's just no room for discussion. And unless you guys can bring up something that's better than damaging an archangel in their true bodies, then sure, I'll put Galand down. But until then, Galand top dog. Anyways, let's get into the next commandment. At number 4, we have Monspeet, the one that has 0 gain. So the reason why Monspeet is above Galand is because Monspeet actually has range, and we also see Monspeet damage the archangels pretty casually. We also know that Monspeet is able to use Endura. Of course, we're using their prime versions. That's why I'm bringing up Endura. And we know that Endura transformations can take you from getting one-shotted by like Luda Show to dog walking Luda Show pretty casually, and also the other archangels. And we also see like base Monspeet like beat up Estarossa and like pretty much talk down to him while he's beating his ass. Well, not beating his ass, but he's choking him out. And the only reason why he lost was because Derieri was tricked by Estarossa, thinking that he was knocked out. But you know, Estarossa needed a way to get out of that situation. But yeah, that's the only reason why Monspeet lost to Estarossa. But other than that, he would have like beaten Estarossa. So we've already seen that fight actually take place, so we don't really need to talk about it. Yeah, and obviously the same case is going to happen for all of the other commandments. Monspeet has range, he has the attack potency, he has also somewhat the destructive range as well. We see him pretty much like nuke Meliodas in, well, obviously it was a weaker Monspeet because he didn't have his full magic at the time, but we literally see him do like a pseudo nuke in a weaker form. So he could like just nuke Galand, he could nuke Gloxinia, he could nuke Fraudrin, he can nuke Droll, Grayroad, Estarossa. Well, he can just like, he could probably just like slap Estarossa sideways and like knock him out. But yeah, that's why I think Monspeet's on top. And if you don't think base is enough, he still has Enduro Transformation. And I know some of the commandments should have the Enduro Transformation, but I don't think Estarossa would have Enduro Transformation exactly, because he is somewhat of a goddess as well secretly. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Monspeet and why he should be on that level. Of course, Monspeet is also the best fire user in the demon world, and also the best at using Hellblaze. So yeah, he's probably cooking all of his opponents up until this point. Anyways, let's move on to the next. Next is number 3 is Derieri, one of the best girls. And the reason why Derieri is at number 3, and I think she will be able to beat Monspeet on the others, is because we see Derieri like blitz Tarmiel 54 times over before Tarmiel was able to answer a shot. Well, actually, she just stops at 54, and Tarmiel wasn't able to answer any of those shots. And we've also seen that just one combo star from like a combo star difference, like 1 and 2, is a massive leap. It's a bare minimum 4 times. We see like Meliodas punch Bond in the face, and Meliodas at the time was 3 times stronger than him, and that was in the Fight Festival in season 1. And Bond only has like a few scratches on his face, even though Meliodas is 3 times stronger than him, which was stated. And we see Derieri literally cave in Tarmiel's face, whereas the first combo strike like barely did anything, like no scratches or anything. But the second one was like caved in his face, so it's greater than 4 times actually. 4 times is just a low ball. And we know that in 7 Deadly Sins, if you get stronger, you also get faster, which is why Derieri's punches do seem to get faster the more times she strikes at you. We've seen this to be the case when she did it to Tarmiel, and we see this to be the case when she does it to Meliodas in the jumping that the commandments did on power restored Demon Mark Meliodas. So if she's striking them with combos, any one of them of the commandments that I've mentioned so far, she's like no different than them pretty much. And a one shot to like knock somebody out, you have to be at least 11 times in 7 Deadly Sins. But obviously, if you're dealing with characters that have healing factors like the goddesses, it's going to take a lot more to knock them out or actually kill them. So she's most likely just beating all of them with combo style, and that's pretty much all the abilities she has. I know Estarossa has physical full counter, which could be in handy, but the thing is that the only time he was able to actually use physical full counter is when Derieri lost control because of her emotions and like randomly attacked him without actually thinking straight, which I also think that she is faster than Estarossa because she can fight archangels in their true forms, whereas Estarossa can't, so she would more likely win. And that's pretty much the same thing for almost all of the other commandments that I've mentioned. Monspeet, she's shown to be like somewhat relative to Monspeet. She also has the Endura transformation. Monspeet also has the Endura transformation, but it seems that she gets a greater power boost in the Endura transformation, whereas Monspeet gets like a power boost to like his fire manipulations and the potency of his fire, because his base fire wasn't able to like do much to the archangels, but then when he went into an Endura, he was able to pin both of them down as if they were bitches, right? And then just toast them, and it actually worked. And it took them a while to regenerate. So I think that her Enduro would more likely just overpower Monspeet's Enduro. Although he has the hacks, well, it's not really hacks. He has the abilities. I don't think it's going to mount too much when your opponent is also getting faster and stronger, probably greater than you, because of that's their main like fighting capability thing. So yeah, let's move on to the next. Number 2 is my favorite sexy demon snake girl of the rarest kind, Melascula. And I know what y'all are thinking, but do remember, this isn't a power ranking video, but a ranking video on who can beat who. So yes, I am saying she is stronger than the other 8 commandments listed, not in terms of power, but her abilities and hacks would dominate them in a 1v1 fight. So let me explain. And yes, I had to make a script for her because it's needed so that my point can be understood by even the smoothest of brains, which I do know exist out there. Anyway, first things first is that Melascula is fast enough to keep up and probably surpass the previous commandments in terms of speed, because we know that Melascula can keep up with critical over Galand due to her having no problem being able to perceive Galand and Escanor's fight, and then we see her blitz that same Escanor that is even stronger than before, than the one critical over Galand fought, even though they aren't at full power just yet, because they were still able to eat souls and get more magic power. Anyway, she blitzed Escanor when putting her dark cocoon around him, and then she blitzed him again when taking his soul. It was also implied by Merlin that if Melascula didn't hold back and used her true magic power, she could have won against the Sins and Elizabeth. And remember, King was able to fight magic nerfed base Chandler at night, and super small Diane was able to face tank and attack from that same Chandler, which, if you don't know, the smaller Diane gets, the weaker she will become compared to her original giant form. And as for Merlin, she was able to keep up with transformed demon Chandler, who was at full power at night, but she lacked the power to damage him without hacks. Even with all that, Merlin still implies that yeah, Melascula could potentially win if she were to go all out. And we also know and see, Merlin notes that the dimensional warp that is set 100 miles around Camelot is too powerful that neither teleportation nor absolute cancel will work on it, and that it was created by no other than Melascula herself, proving to us that Melascula has more potent magic than even Merlin, So Melascula would low-key blitz any one of the commandments below her on this list. Now that we know she is fast enough, we should also learn what she can do, which she has a type of poison that isn't noticeable unless you see someone affected by it before you, and the further you are from her, the longer it will take for it to reach you. But at least in 100-meter radius from Melascula, then you will be affected by the poison without you knowing. And this poison reduces your statistics, such as your sense of direction, delays your reaction nerves, the ability to invade, and your accuracy. It's so potent that Melascula's attacks can have a guaranteed hit because of the effects of her poison, which none of the demons have resistance to, and it will be too late for them to even do anything. It's also noting that when Nazians used that same poison on Worldane, she missed her target at point blank range, and she couldn't hit her target no matter how hard she tried. Melascula could also make herself and or her darkness intangible. She also has her snake acid that even bronze regeneration couldn't keep up. Her magic also has interdimensional range, in this case magic being darkness, being able to affect souls from purgatory, which is a separate space-time dimension of infinite size. She was able to pop open a portal using her darkness to purgatory for the souls to escape, meaning she has BFR as well, and she can put a spatial warp around her, making her immune to physicals and magical attacks. If she was able to do it 100 miles around the country of Camelot, then she would have no problem doing it around herself. And yes, she also has her snake form, which is probably stronger than her human form, since why would she use it if it was actually weaker? And she has Endura too. Actually, all demons have it, unless they have a power level over 50k. If they were to use Endura below 50k, then their bodies would just crumble and fall apart, which Melascula would have that easily at night, but at daytime, in her prime condition, she should logically have it as well. So I see no way any one of the previous commandments could actually beat her in a 1v1 fight. And again, this isn't a power-based ranking, just who can beat who. That's what I mean by who is stronger. Next is Zeldris. Zeldris is Zeldris. I don't think I need to explain why Zeldris is at number 1. Was able to beat Mael. Mael was able to one-shot the original demon. The original demon above the command, well, pretty much above the commandments. And that was also a weaker Zeldris because he didn't have a commandment, and he was also somewhat weaker physically because he was fighting Escanor and Margaret that have, well, Ludishol in Margaret's body. And yeah, so Zeldris should just be, well, is number 1. If you guys still question Zeldris being number 1, I will actually hop out your phone and slap you twice and then go back home. So yeah, that's all I have to say on this topic. What do you guys think? Where do you guys think the commandments should rank with the same method as how I ranked the commandments, not just power based, but taking everything into account. If there a commandment that is a power-based user, take that into account and see if that power can beat a Haxi character, well, a Haxi commandment that was before them, or whichever commandment before that character, or whatever, you know. Tell me what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.